Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and today we will be doing a few trailer reactions. So, San Diego Comic-Con is on right now. There's a lot of stuff coming out of there. I've seen a couple things. There was that Dungeons and Dragons trailer, which surprisingly looks really good. You know, the D&D movie back in like 90s, early 2000s with Jeremy Irons was notoriously bad. But no, this one with Chris Pine looks pretty good. And there was like one or two other things, but there was a couple trailers I wanted to kind of share my reactions to because I'm sort of more invested in their stories. First up, we have The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power. So I'm actually looking forward to this show. I know a lot of people are very kind of so based on what people we've been seeing so far. I'm what I would describe as cautiously optimistic. You know, I really love sort of the idea of the story. This might be a controversial take, but I think I prefer the Silmarillion over Lord of the Rings. As much as I adore Lord of the Rings, you know, I grew up watching those movies, read the books, you know, cover to cover so many times. I will love it till the day I die. But as a fan, or like as a a student of ancient history and a fan of like lore and mythology, especially when it comes to fiction, the Silmarillion is one of my favorite things ever. Just it's got gods and monsters and destiny and heroes and epic battles and magical items, and it's got a little bit of everything. And essentially, it's the Middle Earth Bible. And I love how this show is going to cover, at least in sort of a truncated form, a lot of the Second Age. So we might see like Numenor, see sort of like the Elven realms at some of their height. Sauron is going to be in here in some capacity. I saw the sort of like the main trailer they released however long ago. Looks pretty good. And like a lot of people are saying it looks like, in terms of the overall sort of feel, it looks a bit too sort of like clean and shiny. Like one thing that really stood out about Lord of the Rings movies was the fact that it looked very sort of like grounded in reality. There was a lot of, say, like grime and wear on the characters. Everything felt sort of like heavy and real. And there was, adding to that was all of the stuff with like like the prosthetic for the orcs and the other creatures. It all felt like real, like you could touch it. And I remember the first sort of trailer, the first images that were coming out, a lot of people were kind of iffy about it just because everything looked sort of too like bright and shiny. But like I say, I'm excited for the story. I love sort of that we're getting to explore the more sort of mythological ancient history of Middle Earth. A lot of these sort of kingdoms, like Numenor, will be around. We'll see that at some point. But even if we don't, if it'll be after the collapse, then we'll see like Gondor and Arnor at their respective heights. We'll get to see the Elven realms. A lot of stuff that I really love about this world. Tolkien is obviously the grandfather of high fantasy, and yeah, I just love everything about it. I have faith that it will be at least at minimum entertaining and good. I hope it'll be great. That is my hope, but you never know until the show's actually released. But yeah, let's check this out. I'm really kind of excited.
We thought the war, at last,
Whoa!
was ended.
Today, our days of peace begin.
We thought our joys would be unending. We thought our light would never dim.
The skies are strange.
Ooh, a Palantir.
The moment we feared.
Whoa. Okay, good choir, I like it.
Evil does not sleep. It wakes.
Guessing that was Sauron.
Tetting shadow to bury us all beneath the mountain.
Oh, is that Moria?
He has no one name, but many.
Oh.
If you heard of him, lad, if you heard of Sauron.
Oh. Whoa. Morgul blade?
If the evil rising is left unchecked, it will take us all.
Whoa.
Find the light, and the shadow will not find you.
Oh.
Together we can survive this! Fight with me.
Each of us must decide who he shall be.
Oh, there we go. Whoa! It's like a sea dragon.
There can be no trust between hammer and rock. Eventually, one or the other must surely break.
Ooh. Yeah, it's gotta be Sauron. He looks edgy enough to be him. Ah, a little
You have been told many lies.
veins of mithril. No. Oh! What? Whoa! They have a Balrog! Oh, goddamn. Okay, that looks really cool. Actually, like I say, I'm very excited right now. They cast the actress who plays young Galadriel. They cast her pretty well. That was yeah. It's gonna be fun seeing her in like a because like when we see her in Lord of the Rings, she's very sort of ethereal. She's removed from any sort of like war. She's just ruling her own realm type thing. Obviously very powerful. Because she's one of the sort of most sort of powerful oldest elves who have seen the two trees, the light. It's going to be interesting seeing her kind of in any sort of combat situation. I remember, it wasn't this, it was like one of the earlier trailers. At one point it showed like, it showed like a bunch of like ships sort of in the water, and then her or someone else kind of in the water as well. Because I like in the, I want to say like that was in like the first age was the kinslaying. When Feanor led the Noldor to slaughter the Teleri to take their ships, and then on his way to Middle Earth. I want to say that was first age. So that's probably not going to be in this show, because the Tolkien estate and Christopher Tolkien are very sort of very, very stringent in particular in what they allow studios to work with. From what I understand, this show is only allowed to use things that were either referenced or sort of seen in the Lord of the Rings movies. So that's the reason why they're sort of like I said, shrinking and truncating, because the Second Age lasted for thousands and thousands of years. So there's a lot of ground they're going to cover in a short amount of time. And that was one of the other things that a lot of people were sort of nervous about, was just that they're taking all of this long, massive sort of tapestry of history and they're shortening it into like a much shorter time frame. So we'll kind of see how that plays out here. But I can't remember that actor's name who plays like that dwarven king, but he was in Harry Potter, the number 7. He played Yaxley, one of Voldemort's minions. He has a really good kind of like gravelly voice. Usually he plays some more kind of villainous characters, but I'm pretty sure that was like when he was on his throne there, we were seeing like Khazad-dûm kind of at its height, which is really, really cool, because I love sort of dwarves just in general, not even just Tolkien. I love like dwarven cities and realms, like Erebor. If I had to choose a place to live in Middle Earth, it would either be the Shire, just for peace and comfort, good earth, lots of drink and food and party, or the other would be Erebor, because I love like epic sort of like dwarven like underground cities, and I've always loved the idea of just like diving into mountains of gold like Scrooge McDuck and seeing all these beautiful jewels and architecture. That'd be really cool. But this I think this has a lot of promise. Just from what we've seen here of the orcs and just looking at this thumbnail here, it looks like they're, at least for the most part, they're going back to practical effects like prosthetics and like makeup and such, which is really, really good, because the CG orcs in The Hobbit were just, let's not talk about those. But like Manu Bennett, I love him as an actor. He has a really cool kind of physicality he brings to every role. He has a really good deep voice. I love him. He played Crixus in the Spartacus series. He was wonderful in that, and he had a really good voice for an orc. You know, when Azog talking, you know, "Bah, ooh," like the, you know, just that very like deep sort of guttural quality. That was cool, but he, like I say, he looked too like clean and CG, and it just didn't quite translate the same way like Gothmog in Return of the King. That's a really memorable, effective, like, you know, piece of prosthetic, and it's real. You can reach out and touch it. So I'm glad that they're returning somewhat to that sort of aesthetic. It's sort of, you know, one of the things that really made Lord of the Rings the household name, like the movies, I should say, the movies, like the household name that they are today. And yeah, like as soon as I saw like the veins of like Mithril in the mountains and that like leaf sort of tumbling down deeper and deeper, I thought they were gonna sort of mention like Balrog and such, but then yeah, as soon as it oh man, so we haven't really seen, like, apart from like artworks, we haven't really seen like what the other sort of Balrogs look like. We know that, and like the only sort of named ones we have are like there was Gothmog, sort of like the leader of the Balrogs, the marshal or whatever, one of Morgoth's chief lieutenants, who died in the siege of Gondolin, and then there's Durin's Bane, which we saw in the Lord of the Rings movies. And looking at it right now, based on the shape of the horns, it yeah, it most definitely is Durin's Bane, because if we are going to see Khazad-dûm, then presumably we might be able to see when the dwarves first awaken the Balrog, because I mean that's what leads to the exodus from Khazad-dûm in the first place, when the Balrog arises, and then when not Glóin, Balin, when Balin and his expedition try and resettle Khazad-dûm before the Lord of the Rings takes place, they're eventually killed by goblins, and then they're sort of reawakened like the Balrog. So we might kind of see it first like arise from the depths of the mountains, which is always, I just love seeing the movies, Christopher Lee saying the dwarves delved too greedily and too deep, they awoke in the darkness, shadow and flame. But yeah, and then that sort of really edgy looking guy, that's got to be Sauron. So it's going to be interesting because, like, in the movies and in the books of Lord of the Rings, we only ever hear him mentioned. We don't see him physically. He's more like a force of nature than a character. But it's going to be fun seeing him sort of when he's operating in the world, sort of like not in his prime, because I'm not sure when this takes place in relation to, because like after Numenor falls, he is unable to take fair form again. After the city is swallowed by the sea. So I'm wondering if this is sort of before, or maybe we'll see him corrupt Numenor. Because like Numenor it's the greatest of all the kingdoms of men in the history of Arda, and it's just everything about them is really cool. I just love the whole Atlantis aesthetic, the feeling that it has, and so it'll be interesting to see. Because we saw like a few like characters of like men, the race of men in this trailer, just like those sort of younger like kids, and then a couple adults. So I'm wondering if, because like Numenor had various sort of like outposts and settlements across Middle Earth, that colonized like the Roman Empire essentially for many, I think, many like centuries before the city fell. Because the survivors, the faithful led by Elendil, they founded Gondor and then Arnor out of those sort of settlements in those territories. So I'm wondering kind of how much of that we'll see in relation to the show's timeline. I wonder kind of if we'll see like before or after the fall. That'll be kind of interesting to see. But yeah, like I said, we'll see a lot of the Elven kingdoms are still at their height. I mean, like, I'm trying to remember if Eregion was, because that was destroyed. No, that was more like Third Age when Sauron went after so like we'll see like Eregion, we'll see Rivendell, we'll see Lothlorien, we'll get to see like maybe like Gil-galad. That'll be a lot of fun. He was only ever sort of like a brief kind of a cameo in Lord of the Rings prologue, but this shows a lot of promise. I'm looking forward to it. Amazon has definitely been throwing plenty of money at the whole production, so the scale and the sort of production quality should, by the time we see it, match the amount of dough that they've been sinking into this whole thing. But like I say, I'm really looking forward to it. It's got promise. The fact that they've got a Balrog in here, they've got sort of a lot more sort of like the magic and everything. And you know what I just realized? I mentioned, Crixus from Spartacus, and we had Cynthia Adai Robinson as, I'm presuming, like a Gondorian, Numenorian queen. She had sort of like a royal circlet, it looked like, but she played Navia in the second and third season of Spartacus, so that was kind of funny. But yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this one. So let's move on to the next one. Okay, now we come to the other trailer of the day, John Wick 4. It is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. I've been waiting a long time for this one. Oh, yeah, John Wick is instantly, when the first movie came out, became one of my all-time favorite actions, or like film series. Each movie just gets bigger and better, with the choreography, the fighting, the kills, Yeah, I've been recently sort of showing my mom these movies. There's you can check out our reaction to John Wick #1. I'll put a link down below. She had a real, I had a real fun time sort of with her experiencing that movie, and then we also have our full length reaction for John Wick 2 is currently up on our Patreon for early release or early access, I should say. So if you want to go ahead and check that out, I'll put a link down to our Patreon below. You can check that out. John Wick 3 reaction is forthcoming. It'll be, I can't say when, but it'll be happening soon. It's been a lot of fun showing my mom these movies, but yeah, obviously I can't have her here for this because she hasn't seen number 3, so I don't want to spoil anything, but I just wanted to kind of do a quick reaction to this one. I love Keanu Reeves. He's one of my favorite Canadians. He's one of my favorite people on the earth. Just such a wholesome, sweet guy. He's one of the few celebrities that I actually like admire, and I look up to him just as a person. He's really exemplary in everything he does, and yeah, I'm very much looking forward to this movie, which is coming out next year, I believe, 2023. So yeah, like John Wick 3, we left off. I mean, in terms of the sort of the higher sort of story and the plot, we didn't really change that much. I mean, John is still on the run from the high table. He's still sort of excommunicado because Winston reaffirmed his loyalty to the table. I mean, at least in name, because in the final scene of the movie, he shot John, off the roof, but he shot him all in the chest because he has those like armored suits. If he really wanted to kill him, he would have shot him in the head. So I'm thinking it was all part of some long like con that Winston is doing, because otherwise he likes John. He's sided with him in almost every way throughout the movies. So hopefully it's some sort of long con. Just a way to kind of like placate the high table for now until we can find a way to take them down, because we left off like John was battered and beaten and bloody, but he met up with the Bowery King, good old Morpheus from the Matrix, and they were gonna sort of team up because the Bowery King was sort of like ousted from his throne by the table because he helped John in John Wick 2. So hopefully we'll get some sort of movement on the plot. We'll actually meet the high table, and we'll sort of at least kill a few of their members, because like I say, the third movie was really great, like some of the best action choreography I've seen ever, but in terms of the story, it was just one long kind of prolonged state of being that didn't really change at the end. Like, he's still on the run, the high table's still in power type thing. So hopefully they don't take too long to kind of move things, just because I know like a lot of people might get sort of arc fatigue if it goes on too long. So that'd be kind of interesting to see play out. But yeah, that's all I got for now. Let's check it out. Ooh.
Have you given any thought to where this ends?
Hiroyuki Sanada.
The table will never stop. You know this.
Ooh. Time for some training.
No one,
Oh.
not even you,
Bill Skarsgård? Oh.
can kill everyone.
Oh. Is that Donnie Yen?
You ready, John?
Yeah. Oh! Whoa! March 24th. Guys, I have no idea what's happening, but I fucking love it. Oh, god damn, I got a lot of really sort of big name actors coming in. I mean, we have Hiroyuki Sanada, one of my favorite actors of all time. He was Ujio in Last Samurai. He played Keiji, the villain in Rush Hour 3. He was in Endgame for just a little bit, but I love him just like as an actor, as like an action star. He's really great. I'm not quite sure about his sort of role in the story, because it almost seemed like he was sort of like warning John about stuff. So maybe he's like a representative of the table or one of their members. And then we have Donnie freaking Yen, Yip Man himself, coming in. And it was neat because we saw him fighting John, like, like slashing swords and then blocking and then shooting just with their suits, and that was really cool. They're sort of back and forth that way. But he was fighting John in the first part, and then he was fighting Hiroyuki Sanada towards the end. So I'm wondering if maybe he and John will team up at some point. Maybe he's sort of like an operative or an assassin that they send after John, but he convinces him to sort of team up with him. I'm not quite sure about that. We got the Bowery King sort of helping him out. That'd be fun. I mean, like, pretty much all of his like forces, his employees, were all slaughtered in the last movie. So I'm not quite sure how much more support he has that he can give John. Maybe just like a hideout and stuff like that, or weapons. And then we had Bill Skarsgård. Yeah, I think because he played Pennywise in the new It movies, but usually he plays more sort of like villainous characters, just from what I've seen him in. So he's probably also like either like an operative or like a member of the High Table. And then we had Winston. We had good old. I want to, because like we saw like a dog run up and like bite a guy in the nuts. So I'm wondering if we're gonna get Halle Berry's character back. She was really cool. Her and her dogs were some of the best like scenes in the whole movie. Just how like well trained they were, and this the choreography, just them like biting guys to like distract so she could shoot and whatnot. And it's funny because like John Wick 2, we had Cassian played by Common. He and John were sort of equals in terms of like skill, and they were very respectful of each other and everything. And then I wanted them to team up at some point in that movie. But then, it was announced he wasn't coming back for John Wick 3. I thought, okay, maybe hopefully they'll save him for later. Then they had Halle Berry's character, number 3, and she was, very tense relationship with John, but they were still allies. They fought together in that beautiful sequence in Casablanca, and then she sort of left him when he went to the desert. And, so I hope at some point, maybe in this movie, that, like, at least, if not, like, some returning characters from the previous movies, but like at least a couple characters of like say fan favorites like say Cassian or Halle Berry's character, they'll sort of come back and team up with John. Maybe he'll form sort of like a seven samurai type of thing, like a band of like the world's best assassins, or like the independents at least, against like the forces of the High Table. That'd be kind of interesting to see. I mean, like John Wick himself could kill and take out everyone. I mean, they had that line about you can't kill everyone. Well, so far he has been. He's one of the most lethal men ever to have been invented in fiction. I'm really curious to see how the story will progress, if we'll actually meet. Because like John Wick 2, we met with Gianna, who had just become a member of the High Table, and then she killed herself, and then her brother, Santino, was like the main villain of that movie. He was again like just a new member of the High Table. He died. And then John Wick 3, we had that adjudicator played by Aisha K. Dillon, but we haven't actually met like the other members. We haven't seen like the table, like where they meet, or like any of their other members. We met the Elder. I can't remember the actor's name, but he was one of the team members in Wonder Woman movie. But he was sort of like the one who sits above the table, like kind of like the old man in the mountain for like the Hashashin, the assassins back in the in the Middle Ages. They're very much basing that off of. But like I said, I really, there's not a whole lot of like stuff laid out in this trailer. Just like characters fighting, characters just being there. There's not a whole lot of context. There's not a whole lot of things like given away, which I really love in a trailer. Just far too often these days, trailers just go on for too long and they give too much away. Or like one good example I can think of is like Terminator Genesis. I mean, that was just a bad movie overall. But one thing that it really bugged me about it was the big twist. I mean, just spoiler warning for for that movie. But like that version of John Connor in that movie is sort of converted into a Terminator, I guess, by sort of like nanomachines. And that is supposed to be a huge, like, say, twist, like a like John Connor, the central character of that series, becomes a Terminator. It's a huge thing. But I swear, every single goddamn trailer and TV spot and ad and 5-second thing of that movie featured the actor playing him turning into a Terminator and fighting the main characters. Like, you're trying to drum up all this, like sort of buzz for the movie beforehand, but you don't do it by giving away all of your biggest like spoilers and everything. It like I say, that was a bad movie all around, but that was like a prime example of showing too much in a trailer. And even though this literally says teaser trailer, so it's not like gonna be a full trailer, but I just like how it just shows us a good sampling of just what the movie has to offer, like a lot of fight scenes, a lot of really cool kind of cameos, and just a lot of stuff to be excited for the movie. And that this is really all I need. I just need like a general premise, and I'm not really one to watch like every single trailer that comes out or every single TV spot or ad or whatever. Like I want to go into the movie blind as much as I can. Like I want to have like a decent idea just from like one trailer, and then that's it. Because like another example is like Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. I won't spoil anything for those of you who haven't seen it, but there's a lot of really big name cameos in terms of the actors playing them, in terms of the characters they're playing in that movie. A lot of them really shocking, and I didn't know it beforehand. I had a good guess, but there was like a lot of others that I didn't know about when I saw the movie in the theater. But then I read afterwards that almost every single one of those particular cameos, there was like a TV spot or like a commercial of them like the week before the movie came out, which is just like, what the hell? Like, just marketing, like movie marketing in general, really just irritates me in that regard. They just show too much in going in just to kind of generate like excitement for the movie. But anyway, this looks really dope. John Wick is one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite sort of action franchises ever. It's going strong. It has no signs of stopping. I love it. There's a lot of really good cameos, a lot of fantastic actors known for their martial arts and like stunt work, or at least like action, like fighting work, like Donnie Yen. Like I say, he's a Yip Man. He's a really great fighter. He was fantastic in Rogue One as Chirrut. We have Hiroyuki Sanada, who is sort of like the Hollywood's like go-to, like if you want anyone resembling a samurai, you hire this guy. And we got Keanu Reeves, just such a beautiful man. So yeah, there's a lot to be excited for. Well, guys, that's all I got for you today. There's just those two trailers. Like I say, these were sort of the ones I'm most kind of interested in or excited for. I wanted to kind of share my reaction with you. And yeah, as far as I know, Comic-Con is still going on. I'm not sure how long it is. It's been like 3-4 days so far. But yeah, just hopefully there's a lot of stuff that you guys are excited for too. A lot of stuff that a lot of movies and shows being announced. I'm really here for it. A lot of things to be excited for. Potentially, who knows? Depending on how they come out, maybe like a reaction or two from the channel. But yeah, like I say, I'll put a link down below for our John Wick 1 reaction, and then John Wick 2 is on our Patreon. You can check that out. But then, yeah, that's all I got for you today. So until next time, we'll see you later. Bye.